All right, so you want to talk ancient wisdom, not like dusty scrolls you can't understand, but advice that still hits hard today.
Right. Still relevant.
Let's dive into Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, his Meditations, Book 8 specifically.
Okay.
And picture this, not some self-help book he's trying to sell, it's more like his personal journal, raw and unfiltered.
Exactly. Not meant for anyone else to see, which is what makes it so interesting, you know?
Totally. Like, we're getting a glimpse into his mind, this guy dealing with power, responsibility, the whole shebang.
Yeah, trying to figure out what it means to be human, right?
And you know what? The stuff he was worried about back then, finding joy, dealing with pain, that feeling that time just flies by.
It's universal.
It's like he could be writing today.
Totally.
So, sections 25 through 27, Aurelius tackles what brings true joy, and spoiler alert,
Okay.
it's not about gold or fancy stuff.
Nope. He goes deeper, talks about living in accordance with our nature.
Okay, that had me scratching my head a bit at first. What does that even mean practically?
I get it. Sounds a bit vague, right? So the Stoics, which Aurelius was big on, they were all about focusing on what we can control.
Okay.
Mainly our own thoughts, reactions. Instead of stressing over external things, we've got no power over.
I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Right, so instead of getting bent out of shape over traffic or the weather, or if your team's winning or losing, let's be real. Aurelius is like, hey, focus on how you respond to that stuff.
That is a huge difference.
It is. He even says, wipe off idle fancies.
Oh.
It's like deleting distracting notifications on your phone.
Oh, I like that.
Clearing that mental space so you can see things clearly.
Wow, that analogy's perfect. And it makes this whole living in accordance with our nature thing. Like, we're bombarded with info, pressure. It's easy to forget we have a choice in how we react.
Exactly. You nailed it. True joy, that inner peace, it comes from mastering what's going on inside, not trying to control the chaos outside.
It's like he's giving us a blueprint for inner strength, especially in the craziness of daily life. And let's be real, we could all use some of that.
Right.
But speaking of navigating life, Aurelius doesn't just stop at our inner world. He gets into how we deal with each other, communication especially. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Oh, it does. In section 28, he's talking about speaking, like addressing the whole Roman Senate, or just chatting with a friend.
And his big point, be genuine, none of that showy stuff, just be real.
And that is more relevant than ever, especially now with social media pressure to be someone you're not.
Oh, totally. Imagine Aurelius scrolling through social media today. He'd probably tell us to hit unfollow on that whole act and just have real conversations.
He'd get a kick out of that analogy, I
Yeah.
think. But moving on from our digital lives, Aurelius isn't afraid to get into the heavier topics.
True. In section 29, he takes us on a little trip into the land of mortality, and it is powerful stuff.
It really is. And he doesn't sugarcoat it. He paints this picture. Emperor Augustus, top of the world, power, prestige, the whole 9 yards.
And
even he couldn't escape death.
to drive that home, Aurelius lists Augustus's family. Wife, daughter, nephews.
All gone. Every single one. It's
Yeah.
like he's holding up a mirror to how temporary life is, even at the very top.
It's a bit of a reality check for sure.
There's even this inscription he talks about, the kind they put on monuments. He was the last of his kindred.
Whoa.
Chilling, right.
Gives me chills. It really makes you think about legacy, huh? And not just like your kids, but the mark you leave on the world. What will people say when you're gone? Or maybe more importantly, what do you want them to say?
Such a good point. And it kind of makes our daily worries seem smaller, you know?
Suddenly that deadline at work or that overflowing inbox, not so bad.
Exactly. Because if a Roman emperor couldn't outrun death, it makes you realize what matters is how we spend the time we do have.
So true.
And that's where Aurelius's wisdom shines through. It's not about being morbid. It's about, hey, live with intention.
And that leads perfectly into section 30, where Aurelius gets super practical. He goes from the vastness of time to, okay, how do we approach each day, each task?
Absolutely. And this section is pure gold for advice you can actually use. He says, focus on the one thing in front of you. Do it the best you can. And then, this is important, accept what you can't control.
I love how this isn't about being passive or giving up. It's about putting your energy where it matters.
Right. It's like he's saying obstacles, they're part of life, but you choose how you react to them.
It's up that quote, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it.
And who better to remind us than an emperor who had his fair share of challenges?
You've got a point. But what's really hitting me is this isn't some untouchable philosophy. Aurelius is giving us a framework to handle everyday chaos, whether you're running an empire or just trying to get through your to-do list.
That's timeless.
It really is, and it shows how powerful these ideas are, that they've lasted so long, passed down through generations. But as we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive, there's one big question hanging in the air. If we've only got so much time and control, what really matters? What's that one action we should focus on?
That's the question, isn't it? And the answer might surprise us.
You know, it's funny. For a guy who lived almost 2,000 years ago, Aurelius really understood what makes us tick.
It's pretty amazing, right? And this next part, it really brings that home. Remember how we were talking about focusing on what we can control?
Yeah.
Section 30 takes that idea and makes it practical, like a game plan for dealing with, well, pretty much anything life throws your way.
It's like he invented productivity hacks, except way deeper than just clearing out your inbox.
Exactly. He's like, forget the big, overwhelming picture for a second. What's the one thing you can do right now?
Okay, but that doesn't mean ignoring the big picture entirely, does it?
No, not at all. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Zoom in, give your full attention to this moment, the action you can actually do something about. But you're also aware of the stuff outside your control. And the key is, you accept that.
It's like that saying, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Nailed it. Stoicism in a nutshell. And Aurelius, he wasn't just talking the talk. He was living it as emperor, dealing with wars, politics, disasters.
Yeah.
Yet he still found time for that inner peace.
Which just goes to show it's not about having a perfectly calm life. It's about finding that calm within the chaos.
You got it.
Yeah.
And for him, that meant accepting death as part of life, knowing our time is limited.
Which brings us back to that question. If our time is limited, what should we be focusing on? If we could ask Aurelius for advice today, what do you think he'd say?
Oh, that's a good one. I think you keep it simple. Focus on living a virtuous life.
Okay, but what does that even mean practically? Being virtuous can sound kind of vague, even a little preachy.
You're right, it can if we're not careful. But for Aurelius, it wasn't about some strict rule book. It was about your actions matching your values.
So living in a way that's true to your own personal code.
Exactly. And for him, that meant things like justice, wisdom, courage, not overindulging.
And not letting outside pressure or fear of what others think push you off that path.
Exactly. It's about being true to yourself, even when it's tough, choosing the right thing, even when it's harder.
It's interesting, we're talking about ancient philosophy, but it feels so relevant today.
It really does, because deep down, Stoicism, and Aurelius especially, it's about being human, dealing with heartbreak, loss, disappointment, failure, all that. And not just surviving, but finding a way to thrive.
And that message, that never gets old, does it?
Never. And you know what's interesting? As powerful as Aurelius was, he never acted like he had all the answers.
That's something I wanted to mention. He's always reflecting, questioning, refining his own thinking.
Exactly. That humility, it's something we can all learn from. Knowing we're all works in progress, always more to learn, and that the journey matters just as much as the destination.
Love that. And speaking of journeys, we're nearing the end of ours with Book 8. I don't know about you, but I feel a renewed sense of purpose after spending time with Aurelius's wisdom. He's given us a lot to think about, but more importantly, a lot to actually use in our lives.
Absolutely.
But before we wrap up completely, anything else from these last few sections that stand out? Any nuggets of wisdom we missed?
You know, there's one passage that comes to mind. There's this part where Aurelius, he talks about how fast things disappear from our memories.
Oh, yeah.
He says, think of all the time that's passed, like a bottomless pit. All those people who lived and breathed just like us, now they're gone, swallowed up by the past.
Whoa, that's kind of intense when you put it like that. Makes you feel pretty small, like all our worries, our big wins, even the things we regret the most, eventually it'll all fade away.
It's humbling, isn't it? And I think that's part of the point Aurelius is making. He's reminding us how huge time is, how brief our own lives are, so we focus on what truly matters.
So we don't get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget to actually live with meaning, with purpose.
Exactly. It's like, what do you want to be remembered for? Not in some big egotistical way, but in the simple ways you touched other people's lives.
So it's not just about finding peace for ourselves, but how we treat others, how we contribute to something bigger.
That's what's so great about Aurelius' philosophy. It's not just self-help. It's about being better humans, more compassionate, understanding, aware of how we're all connected.
That's powerful. And it makes me think, if our time is limited, what can we do today, right now, to live more like that?
Maybe it's calling someone you haven't talked to in a while, or finally starting that project you've been putting off.
Or just appreciating the simple things that we usually take for granted.
Exactly. That first cup of coffee, a walk outside, laughing with someone you love.
It's about finding those bits of joy, that connection in all the craziness.
Yes. And focusing on what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, your reactions, letting go of the rest.
It's like Aurelius is talking to us across the centuries, telling us, hey, life is short, but it's full of possibility too. Don't waste it.
Perfectly put. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive for today.
We have, but I have a feeling Aurelius is going to stick with us for a while.
Me too, and that's the sign of true wisdom, isn't it? It stays with you, makes you see the world and yourself a little differently.
Absolutely. So, to everyone listening, as you go about your day, remember what we talked about. Focus on the good, be present, and live a life you're proud of. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and
Steady
keep
like a
thriving.
metronome. Life ain't no paradise. Swimming dust in catacombs. Mind steel clad, heart calm amidst the cyclone. Strength in the stillness where my scars as a keystone. Stoic sword slice through chaos, never once deterred. Struggle forged the iron will, silence is preferred. Pillars patience, wisdom's echo never slurred. Battlegrounds raging, virtues blaze undisturbed. Vice is tempted, whispers in the midnight. Virtue's lantern, cutting through the dark night. Battle rages, yet I'm standing on the Zen height. Stoic vision, crystal clear, guiding through the fight. Running through the gauntlet, fire in my veins burn. Painted teacher, lessons edge, pages that we turn. Fortress of the mind, no retreat, no concern. Virtue steady beacon, storms I discern. Running through the gauntlet, fire in my veins burn. Painted teacher, lessons edge, pages that we turn. Fortress of the mind, no retreat, no concern. Virtue steady beacon, storms I discern. Against the current, standing tall, never bent. World spins frantic, I refuse to relent. Timeless wisdom flows every single event. Stoic calm, unyielding, life's true testament. Weight of 1,000 trials, break chains, ascend. Mind over matter, wounds mend, start again. Clarity and silence, restless anger transcend. Stoic path, unshaken till the very end.
You gonna come after me. The reason why most of you can't do what you do, keep getting knocked down, you keep quitting, because whatever your why is, it ain't stronger than the beat down you take it. Whatever the beat down, whatever life is throwing at you, whatever punches is blowing, whatever's happening, it ain't deep enough for you to wake up. Like you getting punched and you feel that pain and you like, ain't no need to getting up. No, and I feel you. You need to stay down, because life gonna beat you. You talking about making millions, life gonna beat you down. You talking about making millions, multi-millions, billions, life gonna beat you down. So when you feel the pain and you get knocked down, stay down. But if you got a why that's deeper than your pain, y'all, this is a little too young. Y'all look too young. When I was a kid, they used to buy this little bag for it, and it would weeble wobble, but it won't fall down. You can hit that thing and it'll go, and it she'll come right back up. When I think about my wife in MS, my man called, hey, E, can you do the gig? I'm like, yeah, when is it, what time? All I thought about was Didi's MS. Put that in the bank. We might not even need that in our lifetime. Our kids might need it. Or because my wife got MS, my grandkid might end up getting MS. Put that in the bank. Put that in investment for my I'm on my great grandkids right now. That's where I'm at financially. Are you hearing what I'm saying? All right, let's go. I'm sorry. Sam, don't kill me. Without a vision, there's no direction. Without direction, there's no progress. The reason why you struggling getting up, because you don't have nothing to get up for. I got to clear my mind of some stuff, but when I get up there, I got to do what I got to do. Why? Because success is not a feeling. It's a mindset. I need you to clear.
There is nothing more important to true growth than realizing that you are not the voice of the mind. You are the one who hears it. Choose your friends wisely. The fastest way to become better is to surround yourself with better people.
Those who are free from attachment and ego are the ones who attain the highest state of consciousness. Bhagavad Gita.
Learn first, teach later. In the face of adversity, remember that diamonds are made under pressure.
The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Carl Jung.
What they have done they will still do, although thou shouldst hang thyself. First, let it not trouble thee, for all things both good and evil come to pass according to the nature and general condition of the universe, and within a very little while all things will be at an end. No man will be remembered. As now of Africanus, for example, and Augustus, it is already come to pass. Then secondly, fix thy mind upon the thing itself, look into it, and remembering thyself, that thou art bound nevertheless to be a good man, and what it is that thy nature requireth of thee as thou art a man, be not diverted from what thou art about, and speak that which seemeth unto thee most just. Only speak it kindly, modestly, and without hypocrisy.
The Sea of Galilee flows into the Jordan River, and the Jordan River flows into the Dead Sea. Now, here's something about the Sea of Galilee and the Jordan River. They have all type of fish and plants that grow. It's vibrant, it's thriving with life. The Dead Sea is salty, and it's so salty it has high degree and density of buoyancy that you float, just jumping, you just float automatically. But there's no life in the Dead Sea. That's why they call it the Dead Sea. There's no life there. It's an inlet. But you know what? It's the difference between the two, and life shows us things. It's not an outlet. It doesn't feed into anything. It doesn't give water to anything. It only receives water. There are a lot of people, ladies and gentlemen, that are takers. They're inlets, but they're dead. They're dead inside. They're not giving anything. Their lives are salty, tasteless life, non-contributing life. They're the walking, breathing dead. How many of you know people just take and don't give anything back? These are miserable people. They're miserable people to be around, these takers. The act of giving makes you more alive and able to sustain life. See, when you are going through life relentlessly, seeking out what is it you're supposed to give? What service are you supposed to give? That you're supposed to provide, that you're supposed to bring? That's very important. Service is the rent we pay for the space we take up on earth. So decide now, whatever you have, whatever this is that you have in you, that you're going to give. And you're going to give like you've never given before. Why? It gives your life to give. It brings out more in you. The more you give, the more you realize you can give. The more you share, the more you love, the more compassion you show. What a time when we have homeless people. The time when we have young people who have no sense of purpose and direction. At a time when people are feeling powerless with all the massive...
It's okay. They are only human. What people say when they are angry aren't things they mean. They regret it often. Forgive angry people. Whoever does wrong wrongs himself. Whoever does injustice does it to himself, making himself evil.
In vino veritas, in wine there is truth. Pliny the Elder.
Everyone has three faces. Firstly, the one we show to the world and strangers. Secondly, the one we show to family, spouses, and close friends. And thirdly, the one we show only to ourselves. Life is far from over, but it's very short too.
The path to success will leave you calloused, bruised, and very tired. It will also leave you empowered. David Goggins.
Does someone bathe hastily? Do not say that they do so badly, but hastily. Does someone drink a great deal of wine? Do not say that they do this badly, but that they drink a great deal. For until you understand their motives, how do you know that what they do is bad? Understand this, and you will never receive convincing impressions, but assent to quite different ones.
If everything's all together, if I don't have any opposition, if nobody works against me, if nobody tells me no, if I don't run out of money, if everybody loans me what I want and give me what I want and agree with me and support me, I'd like to have that dream. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not that kind of party. It's a party getting what you want, this dream you have. Say it's possible, and don't let nobody turn you around. Don't let circumstances turn you around. Don't let hard times turn you around. It's okay. Whatever you're experiencing, you know that this too shall pass. That you have the capacity and the ability to make it happen. You got a sense of entitlement. I deserve this, and whatever I have to do in order to make it happen, I'm willing to step up and to face life and grab it in a collar and say, give it up, because it's mine. See, most people are wimps, ladies and gentlemen. Very tentative, and they don't believe that they deserve what they want anyhow, so they convince themselves, I'm not supposed to have it. Whatever goal that you have in mind, I want that to be a goal that will challenge you, something that will make you stretch. It was Osborne who said, unless you attempt to do something beyond that which you've already mastered, you will never grow. What is it that you looked at some point in time and you decided that you couldn't do it, that you talk yourself out of it? Whatever it is, bring it back out there. How you're going to do it, that will come to you in due time. So you don't get in life what you want, ladies and gentlemen. You get in life what you are, not what you want. You see, the good news is that we can always become more by working to develop ourselves. So the first process of making this your decade, you've got to begin to take a look at your life and look at where are you right now? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What gives your life a sense of fulfillment, a sense of joy? What does a full, rich life means to you?